Welcome back, everybody, to Old Bearded Gaming. Jumping right back into it with the edit game. We are looking to try to streamline a little bit more of the adventure process here, bring you nothing but the distilled premium content. We've got hours and hours over a couple days worth of video that we're going to bring, and we're prioritizing some of the needs to take our adventure to that next level, right? If we're looking to beat this game, we're going to need wheels, and by wheels I mean wings, which means we need to take every opportunity we can to expand our knowledge on the rock and just kind of get after it. As luck would have it, we would be able to get some experience here. We jumped this up just over the 700 mark in terms of overall total knowledge on the rock, getting right back into the world. Not to be outdone, we also still need Silix to be able to make enough avian treats so that we can tame said rock once we're able to do so. So we never pass up an opportunity when we see these guys swimming in the rivers. We would take a little bit of a break, get out to farming one of the desert forts that we had come across near one of the cities that we've got on our waypoint network. Again, these guys absolutely fantastic to farm here because they spawn very quickly when you uncover their hidden spawners for whatever reason. As you can see, they're coming very fast, very furious, these strays from this singular spawner here on the ground. And what we're looking for out of these guys is, of course, the overclocking ring, which will allow us to be able to make some high-end baubles a little bit down the road. There are, of course, husk spawners as well, and they are going to drop potentially the forbidden fruit bauble that we need. So you can kind of spread out your time between the strays and the husks in this place. And again, underneath some of the sand is where you're going to find these spawners around the courtyard. So just kind of dig them up and let the spawn happen. The interesting thing about these particular spawners is they seem to only be active at nighttime, so they don't spawn anything during the day at all. You can tell that the spawner's working because when you're standing close enough to it, it starts to sparkle on the inside, and we got our first ring of overclocking. These things sort of come in spurts and waves, I guess, because I was not expecting to get more than one on this outing, but there it is. There's the second one. We'd actually end up getting a couple out of this place, which was just fantastic. So we take a little bit of a break for the evening, get back to the home base, and realize we had enough crystals to make another heart. Always happy to do these. I'm not sure where we are count-wise. The strength and vitality kind of makes a mess of it all, but we certainly don't have 10 yet, so every one of them counts. We'd also start to hang up some of the heads on the wall. And with the decorations done, we'd get back after the fort, set on trying to get the second bauble here, the forbidden fruit. And it really wouldn't take long. There it is, forbidden fruit. This one's fantastic because it makes, honestly, the nausea from cockatrices a complete non-issue. And this one happened to already drop as undying. So all we have to do, roll some of the secondary attributes on it, and it's good to go. Such a great find. You know how much I hate nausea. We'd get back to base, and then I'd realize, you know what? We haven't made a nether portal yet. Not that I'm necessarily ready to spend any significant amount of time in the nether, particularly not without our Eye of Dragon to be able to give us that fire protection. But it seemed like now was a good enough time as any to at least build a portal. And I wanted one that I could turn on and off quickly so that I can minimize the opportunity for things coming through from the other side. Definitely don't want that happening and making a mess out of everything. So we got a very simple portal here with some very simple redstone. We've got flint inside of one of the droppers and a bucket of water in the other. As the switch goes out, turns it on with the flint, and we can turn it off. It drops the water. Pretty handy. With the portal built, it's time to unclutter the inventory. Been holding on to these pixies for too long, and I needed to figure out how to make some shelving that we could put it on. So the Varied Commodities mod does have a set of recipes that you can make with 2 books to find out all of the recipes, but not all of the recipes are in RlCraft. Several of them are restricted, sadly, like being able to turn iron ingots just straight into steel. That would be too handy. However, the deco does all seem to work, and the shelf recipe is pretty simple, but it requires the carpentry bench. So carpentry bench, not too crazy to make, and actually fits nicely in our little compiled area here of all things crafting and upgrading. So taking a look at the bench, you get a nice 4x4 grid. Making the shelving, not too difficult, a little bit of wood, a little bit of sticks, and it gives you a few of them. And these things kind of expand quite nicely, actually. As you place them on the wall, the supports automatically adjust and change to make sense for supporting the weight. It's really kind of a neat mod. And now we'd have somewhere to store our pixies. Definitely going to have to finish out the color collection here, though. There's a few I'm still missing. But it's a good start. It felt like time to test out the extent of our gear, see just exactly what this kit could do for us. So I found a battle tower out in the water, decided to give it a quick raid, and interestingly enough, the Dragon Bone pickaxe is so fast at being able to break these spawners, especially with efficiency enchantments. In fact, it breaks so fast it breaks the flooring around you, so you have to kind of be a little bit careful about that. I'm not entirely certain, and I'm a bit of a shame to say it, if I can put any damage enhancing enchantments on the pickaxe or not, just in a general Minecraft sense, let alone an RlCraft sense, because it'd be kind of handy to not have to toggle back and forth between my weapon and my pickaxe as I'm going through breaking these spawns, as it's only a handful of mobs that are ever in the way. I'll definitely have to look at that when we get back on the live, that's for sure. But progress was going pretty steady and pretty fast as we navigated through the floors. Very happy. Nothing was of any danger to us whatsoever, not even any of the infernals, which is great to see. We did get hit with a couple of blast-offs. I think one of them had fiery as well. Again, nothing to really have to worry about. The big test would be, well, what's going to happen when we get up to the very top with the golem? I wasn't sure, being that we don't have advanced protection yet, if we were going to be able to survive that encounter, or at least without our gear just completely going to crap. So we'd still cheese the chest, but then something really weird happened. I'm going to guess that the Sephiroths or Djinns or Zephyrs or whatever the heck these floaty things are actually killed the battle golem. And without a battle golem, Thor starts doing some pretty horrible things on its own. I wasn't exactly sure what the timing was. It had been a little while, but it starts blowing up pretty fast. It's enough time to get down from one floor to the next, but I also wanted to see what these explosions would do to us. And aside from the knockback, it really wasn't too terrible. You can see the hearts, especially with our absorption from our golden apples, didn't really do anything at all. So with all that confidence, we sought out to expand our known empire. So we'd go visit some additional cities. And honestly, what I'm looking for is trying to find some mending books, because we've yet to come across any. I'd love to find a trade, of course, but in lieu of a trade, I'd settle for just some straight up books and chests, because after that fight with the golem, which we didn't even get to fight, the gear took a bit of a beating. So every town we come to, we check every single librarian, check every single library bookshelf, and just a long string of nothing. But it all wasn't for naught. There was another battle tower nearby, and this gave me an idea to really truly test out what our gear could do against a battle golem. Again, we'd rush on in. This one took a little bit of dragon damage, but otherwise seemed to be fully functional. Move up floor to floor, breaking all the spawners as we go. Not wholly necessary, honestly. I think I could probably just leave the spawners and just go straight up to the top if I truly wanted to. Especially once we get flying, we could just drop right in on any battle golem. My concern, though, is once you defeat the tower golem, the tower integrity falls apart, starts blowing up, and it's a bit of a pain to sort through all the loot. In fact, we'll see that a little later on in the edit, but it was getting close to truth moment here. I needed to know that our current level of enchantments were sufficient enough to be able to hold our own against the tower golem. So here we go. We're going to sneak on up to the top, nice and quiet-like. Hopefully, get a little bit of that sneak damage bonus at 2.5 time multiplier. Doesn't actually happen, but it's only a few quick swings from the halberd. There it goes. It happened there, our sneak attack, and the Guardian's dead. Absolutely no damage sustained, at least not in terms of hearts. The gear, though, did take a beating. We're actually sitting at about half durability on this armor after the first tower with the explosions and the second one. And of course, we're taking some more from the explosions here. That's just inconvenient. So we'd get back and look to repair the gear. We had enough skills to do it, but man, is it expensive and inconvenient. I mean, 2 battle towers and we got to run all the way back to our home to repair. It's just not worth it. We need mending. We need mending in a big way, and all efforts were now going to be dedicated to finding mending. That's right, the quest for mending is underway. We would go out to so many villages, and most of them tended to be desert villages. I don't know why. They were just very plentiful, very close together. But as you can tell, it's hot out. It's a lot of running about, and our naming convention, thank goodness we're an organized person, because as you can see, we're adding quite a few duplicates to our list. And to be able to keep them all straight, I got to number them. And then I'm adding a waypoint marker as well on the maps. I know it's our one kind of additional mod cheese that that I felt necessary, but I'm going to take the edge I can get here again in hardcore. It makes sense. Keeps things in order, allows us to be able to revisit and know kind of what's there and where things are as we progress. But we'd keep exploring. We'd keep discovering new towns, checking all their librarians, checking all the library bookshelves. Just nothing. It was really a crap string of worthless enchants after another. But even though the resources weren't all that great, the towns at least were plentiful. So, hours and hours and hours spent going town to town, naming and checking, naming and checking. You know the drill. Now, I know I've explained it before, but I'm going to show it here on video. This is how to very quickly progress your librarian. You do their paper trade, you back out of the trade. They level up, you go in and you do their book trade one time. You back out, let that level up, and just wait a second. There's the green star. Now you buy, for 1 emerald, their glass block trade. And this will give them enough experience. And again, you got to back out of the trade window here. Let it do its little poof. There it is. Now that unlocks their second book. Advanced Flame, not horrible, but not needed. But at any rate, that's how it's done. And when we weren't tackling villagers and librarians, we did come across some very interesting structures. This one had been tainted by a dragon den, but it was still very interesting. I hadn't actually come across one of these before, despite spending a copious amount of time in the deserts. But pretty cool structure, to be perfectly honest. Early game, there's some resources to be taken from here for sure. Gold blocks all over the place. The ceiling's just littered with them. If you were to get up top, it'd be just more than you could ever need. There is a wither skeleton spawner there, which could be useful for farming. And definitely the emerald block in the center. Always worth taking. Pretty cool place. We were also on the hunt for a stage 5 dragon skull because I really need that fire protection from the dragon eye bauble. Sadly enough, though, it's just not in the cards. Every single skeleton, stage 3, occasionally stage 4, just no 5s to be found. But that doesn't stop us from looking. I'm really glad that my naming convention just sequentially kept adding more numbers to the end of these things, because every one of these desert cities just starts looking like the last one. It's hard to keep them straight, that's for sure. And while we keep getting further and further away from our home base, we keep adding more and more to the waypoint network, which is fine by me. Sadly, we're just not finding any resources, nothing worth coming back for, but they're here nonetheless. We may come back and re-explore them at another time. I would eventually come across outside of the desert the College of Evil, which was needed for one of the achievements, so you know what, that's not bad. Wasn't ready to quite run inside of there yet. Not a big fan of the witches inside. Perplexity really messes me up, just like nausea does. So we'd move on, and of course, continue our search for mending. On to the next town. Search would eventually find more and more varied structures. Lots of neat stuff out there. This mod pack really is something cool. While mending is definitely top on the priority list, getting a troll tusk is also very, very much necessary because we're going to be able to make a saddle once we do get a rock. We're going to need that troll tusk. So I would spend a little bit of time underground trying to find said troll. Sadly, never came across one. And speaking of the need for troll tusk for an avian saddle, we still need the knowledge for the rock. Every little bit helps. We're getting closer though. Real close. And like a squirrel distracted by shiny things, I'd change gears again and decide, hey, now's a good time to go check out the nether. We haven't actually been over there yet. Let's see if it's even safe. This is a little bit of a silly move on my part because there definitely could have been some nastiness on this other side, but I just kind of had to know. I built the damn thing. I might as well make sure it works and puts us in an okay spot. Okay being somewhat relative, it is the nether in RlCraft, but it's not bad. It's at least flat ground on the front side, bit of a drop off on the back, fortress nearby. Okay, I can work with that. We would definitely need to come back here and make it safer though. We get our achievement and very quickly realize why the nether isn't that safe of a place, especially without fire protection. So we'd head back to the relative safety of the overworld for now. At least the portal worked, and again, I was still pretty happy with the redstone work. The on-off switch, always make sure to turn it off. No rest for the wicked though. It's on to another town. Another day of pillaging and cycling through librarians, hunting for mending. This guy wouldn't have it. He was worthless. Wouldn't stop us from upgrading him though. See what that second trade was. Advanced punch, again worthless. Now this guy, in all his glory, absolutely not worthless. Strength and vitality 5. We need to lock this guy up. So we'd enclose him in a nice little structure here, cozy little home so we can come back and buy from him whenever we need to. And we'd set about leveling him up. Might as well check to see what his second trait is. Advanced Thorns 3. This guy was a double. Strength and Vitality 5 and Advanced Thorns 3. One-stop shopping. I should have nicknamed him Walmart, but I didn't have any tags with me. I'll have to think about that. Maybe I'll make a note here to go back and give him a name. Definitely worthy, though, to make a note of it on the waypoint list. This is going to save so much time. We did find a couple of these self-contained village structures. You know, one of my favorites for sure. Always worth taking a peek. There are enchanted books up on the top floor. Never know what you're going to find. As luck would have it, picking this lock, definitely worth it. There it is, boys. Our first mending book. Only took forever and a day. I've completely lost track of how many days in we are. I should check that. I'll make another note. So happy to see one of these show up, though. This guy would have the wrong subject book. I'm still looking for subject PE, but it's encouraging to see something different that we haven't seen. I'll take that as a good sign. And it was a good sign. Our luck would continue, because inside of this chest, we would find a second mending book. In fact, the tide had actually turned. By the time we were all said and done with the outing, we would come across 4. No trades yet, but at least enough to put on all of our armor, and I'm okay with that. So we'd make our way back home, knock out a few quests while we're at it. I'll save you the trouble of Epic Sax Guy, but don't need another copyright strike on my videos. Not that we're monetized. I guess, you know, shameless plug for like and subscribe. we're a long ways away from monetization, so I'm really not worried about it. Man, I do like this quest system, though. Kind of cool to give you something to do inside of here, outside of the regular achievements. This was actually very helpful, and it started to get warm inside the place. Glad to be able to turn the AC on. We would put those many books to good use, get them on the armor. Of course, we need some experience because I don't have upgraded potentials. That means time for fishing. Of course, there's no time to show you the fishing because we've got more important things to do, like trying to use this soul gazer on a rock to gain knowledge. You have to get so close to these things to make them work. It is a little frustrating, and these rocks have really weird patterns, but there it is. Knowledge rank 2 unlocked. We are now capable of taming a rock if we come across one worth keeping. That meant we needed to upgrade the search for a troll tusk to make a saddle. So I said, well, let's start a mine. So downward we dug. It's a mine. It's Minecraft. What are you going to do? So we'd break through down to a chamber down below. Nothing too exciting, to be perfectly honest, although it is a lot bigger than I had anticipated it being. But we're still not at a good Y level for finding any trolls, and I haven't had the best of luck, to be perfectly honest, searching underground for these things. They're just harder to come by. However, there is another way to get a hold of troll tusks. So like fishing is able to give us troll leather, treasure hunting and digging in dirt is able to give us troll tusks as part of its treasure loot pool. That's pretty cool. A little more fishing later, we had the experience necessary to max that out, found a hill to destroy, and there's some pretty neat stuff you can get from the treasure hunting. We're talking all kinds of music discs and enchanted items with pretty mid-level enchantments, if I'm being completely honest. Things like Education 2 and whatnot was pretty cool to see. There's diamonds and ore and lockboxes and all kinds of neat stuff. Really not too bad of an investment given that it only has 5 levels and the highest one costs I think only 41. So not too bad, especially when combined with our fishing efforts. But there it is, the troll tusk. This literally only took a half an in-game day. Just seemed way more efficient than trying to find a troll. But we'd have everything we need to make our avian saddle. Achievement unlocked. And they really missed out on giving us a mount up achievement. Saddle up? I mean, come on. And fate's on our side because that is a scarlet rock. It's exactly what we're looking for. Taming it would be a bit interesting. They don't do damage to you while you're holding the treat, but you got to click on them when they're really close. And you can spam click. They go pretty fast, but then once you run out of a treat in your hand, you got to put another one in your hand pretty quick. Otherwise, they start doing damage to you again because they're pissed you don't have a treat. So when all was said and done, I think it was like a stack and a half of treats. And there we go. Scarlet Rock obtained. He is ours now. The downside of him being ours now was, okay, now what do I do with it? It's been a while. So I had to remember exactly how the bestiary works to be able to summon and dismiss him. But then I realized, well, I can't even dismiss him yet because he's not soul bonded. So that's what we would do. We'd make a soul bond trinket, whatever this thing is, made with the soul gazer. Got to use it at close range as they skitter all about. But once it's complete, it'll allow you to summon and dismiss them at will from the menu. We were pretty much about ready. The only other thing that I wanted to do with this guy was make sure that we get him protected. And that means we were going to need to find some armor. I think I had some armor downstairs. We would go and check. And in the various treasures of looting some of the battle towers, we did have some diamond pet armor, which, incidentally, I had a stack of diamonds with, more than a stack actually from fishing, that we would be able to use to roll the quality on it. And yes, these can roll masterful quality. It took an entire stack to get there, the very last diamond of the stack, but it worked. Get a little bit of a speed boost and get a little bit more armor for them. Sadly, these can't be enchanted. I guess that would be just way too OP. But we'd work out the menus and shortcuts, summon our rock, slap some armor on him. if he'd hold still. I'm ashamed to say it took way longer than it needed to for me to realize I could tell him to sit, even though I literally saw it just right there. I didn't actually click on it, but it keeps them completely still by your side if you put them on sit. Pro tip. So with saddle and armor, it was time to, well, do more quests, obviously. It's what we do. These things were bugging me. I knew I had the stuff to close them out. It was time to close them out. Getting the rest of the frost rods to make the frost powder, to make the frosty goo, to then be able to make some frosty goo packs, which if they're anything like the heat packs, they're going to be somewhat worthless. Maybe I was using them wrong. I don't know. You guys let me know if you have a use for these things, but I can't seem to make them make a difference. It's a cool idea, though. Not going to lie. Just wish it worked better. The real reason for stopping and doing these series of quests, though, was to make enough of the frost weave to mix with the heat stuff that we had made earlier to be able to make our Aussie thread to make the Aussie liners. Yay! Quest complete. Yay! Another quest complete. It goes on like this for a little while. Interesting, it unlocked a secret quest for making the Aussie chest and leggings liner, which we had just enough, I think, one thread left over to be able to make both the chest and the legging one. Again, these can only be applied once. You can take them out of your armor and keep the armor, but you don't get the liner back. I guess some of the other liners, the dedicated heat ones and the cold ones, maybe that works. I don't know. I've never tried it. But the Aussie liners, we'll just have to make more when we upgrade our armor down the road. But nice little milestone to completely close out that chapter of quests. It's progress for beating RlCraft, and that's important. So we'd set about putting it on the gear, and hopefully our temperature worries are pretty well mitigated, at least until we can get our Dragon's Eye, and then we are completely invulnerable to the heat, and the cold will never bother us anyway. Damn Reapers. It dawned on me that I never actually upgraded our Bezoar to a Poison Stone. So we were missing out on a whole lot of extra damage that could be had that we are fully capable of being able to create because we have all the things to make it. So that was just silly. I thought about correcting that, so we corrected it. Rolled it up to give us an extra heart, and I think we're sitting not so bad for where we are in the game. Again, still would be really, really nice to have that Dragon's Eye. We're just not getting lucky with those Stage 5 skulls. But the quest for those would be a lot easier now that we could fly. So I thought about testing out aerial combat, getting used to the control scheme of flying about and moving, strafing obviously. Definitely makes handling dragons so much easier. You just get up to their level. Not that they were too hard with the crossbow we have anyways, but this pretty much gives us full air superiority, and I like that. See, look what happens when you get down to the ground, this nonsense. Like, come on, you know that I can handle this, so quit your singing. This isn't American Idol. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but anyways, they did not know whom they were messing with. Still haven't told my rock to sit. He's all over the place. I know we were hot and heavy on the quest to find the mending books, which we had achieved. It didn't really leave that big of a hole in the mindset of exploration because there's still a number of things that we need to really be able to kick this adventure off to the next level. Flying is a fantastic benchmark and something that I'm so thrilled that we have. But it's allowing us to be able to go out and explore and do things at a much quicker and faster pace that I'm hoping the live recordings are going to allow us to fit more adventure into them as opposed to the countless kind of boring hours of just the running back and forth. Things like this, just being able to get out to one of these little yachts to see if there's anything worthwhile out here. It's annoying if you got to swim out there and do it all, call it by hand, I guess. Being able to fly just really, really shaves down on that time. as it would happen, this was very fortuitous because as we would go to level this guy up, his secondary trade, Curse of Possession, something we've been missing. We absolutely need these books to protect our gear. So with getting a pretty firm mastery of aerial combat, I pretty much just kind of sought to explore, expand out our horizons a little bit, and test the limits of what we could do and what our protection was actually like while sitting on the rock. And really, no better judge of protection than going up against a battle tower golem. So from distance, I wanted to see, well, render-wise, how close can we get before we actually see it? And could we even attack it further away than what we could actually see? Because I'm pretty confident the entities still spawn there, even though we can't see it. So I should technically still be able to do damage to it at distance. These little Zephyr guys just get in the way, and then you kill enough of them, and then they start spawning other nonsense because, oh, chaotic energy, it's getting out of balance. You know what? If I wanted to, I could go through and systematically genocide the entire race of these things. But I don't do it because they just keep spawning. It never ends, so it's just not really worth it. So, moment of truth, we'd shoot some arrows over here, bolts, I guess, and it would shoot back, even though it didn't show that it existed. Taking the blast and the fire damage tick, again, pretty mitigated. We're talking like 4 hearts against the rock, maybe a few more, but the protection held up. And then, of course, you see the downside of taking care of battle tower golems from a distance. Or at least before you've looted the chest. It just makes a mess of everything. It's so difficult to get down there and sort through all the wreckage. I think we'll still continue to use our cheese, quote unquote, to loot the chest before just going up and slapping the battle tower golem. If there's even a desire to do that. I honestly don't know what their loot pool includes, so it just may not be worth it at all. The quest continues, though, looking for that stage 5 skull. Now that we had flying, I thought, well, you know what? Let's give the deserts some real good looks. We test to see what the render range was of these skeletons, just to make sure I wasn't missing any of them. You can actually see them from pretty far away, which is really kind of nice. The downside was we were only coming across stage 3. We did find quite a few more towns, and honestly, the waypoint list is really starting to get long. In fact, we're on our second page, and I think by the end of all of this, we're going to be on our 3rd page, if I'm being honest, which is fine. You know, more places, the better, but there just wasn't a whole lot there. This one had vampirism too, which, okay, that's kind of cool. But again, just nothing great. So I kind of resigned myself to figuring, well, we better at least go find the end portal, because if I'm not going to find a stage 5 skull, that means the only other way to be able to make the dragon charm is to go ahead and get a dragon head from one of the Shulker cities, flying ship thingies, whatever they're called. And that means handling the end. As luck would have it, there's apparently an easy way to tell if you're near the end, even without the Eyes of Ender in RlCraft. Apparently, these sylphs spawn all around where the end portal can be. So if you see a whole bunch of them just kind of at random, keep in mind that they do also spawn inside of desert temples, so you need to make sure you're not near one of those. But it's probably a pretty good indication that somewhere underground is an end portal. Wouldn't take long to start digging down, see if we couldn't unearth this thing. And actually, as you see on the little mini-map there, you can see the corridors already. Gives me a little bit of a sense of direction on which way to dig down. Actually wasn't too far underground. And as we progress further, you'd actually start to see some of these sylphs float on by. Yeah, there's another one. They're very plentiful, that's for sure. But we're into the stone, and advancement made, I spy. It's here. Actually not too far from our home, so I would mark this up on the map for just point of reference. I wasn't quite ready to jump in there yet. I still want to get a little more experience on the bird and just make sure I don't make a muck of it once we get over into the end portal area. But yeah, that's pretty close. So one thing I hadn't done yet was really explore any of the frozen areas, which we found some tremendous ice fields, quite a lot of cold areas and biomes around. Because these biomes, like the deserts, can also have dragon skeletons that can be stage 5. These ones actually kind of a little bit easier to come across, and they seem to come in waves, where there's several of them close by. The best we did was several stage 4s, just no stage 5s. And I'm not kidding when I say we spent hours of RL time looking for these things. Like just a ton of time flying over very systematically in a grid formation. You see right here, there's a cluster. There's 2 of them on the ground real close to each other. I was so confident we were going to find one because in several other playthrough and attempts, we've come across them. We've done it in some of these hardcore attempts. We've come across the stage 5 skull like it was nothing. We couldn't make use of it, but it was there. Just when you need it, it's not there. What was here, though, was ice dragons in all colors of the rainbow. Really was no big deal to be able to kill quite a few of them. In fact, we'd kill them every single one that we came across just so that they didn't pose any sort of a threat or issue sneaking up behind us. Not that they can really do a ton to us, but we'd just rather avoid it. And I wanted to make sure I had enough scales to be able to complete my collection. So a pretty silver one here. A nice sapphire one here. It comes in white, it comes in blue, all sorts of really nice colors. The ice ones are definitely very pretty in their color scheme. So as I resign myself more and more to the idea of we're going to go and need to handle the end, I decided, you know what, I keep hearing brewing is like this big thing, wine is absolutely fantastic. So I thought about building a garden. And what better place to build one than midway up our tower. We'd already made quite a few of the greenhouse blocks, which allow us to grow year-round, so long as it's surrounding the enclosure of our farm. We had the materials to make a couple more stacks, and it didn't take too long to get it completed. What does take a little bit of time is brewing. It's not incredibly difficult, and to get things started, you basically just start throwing a little bit of grape juice into each of these containers. And you got to stay around in the chunk long enough for it to complete. It takes about a half a day or so, give or take. And it's very varied in terms of the quality of the wine that you get. But once you do start getting some good quality wine, you can use that as a basis to synthesize at least that quality, if not better. It doesn't go down. It doesn't really degrade, at least not by much. So we'd start in on this process. We haven't finalized it yet, but the garden's working. It's starting to grow, and the more we hang out here, actually, because of some of the buffs we have with the green thumb advancement moving on, it grows significantly faster as we come by these blocks. So it's really pretty quick to get quite a lot of grapes, to be perfectly honest. So real happy that we took the time to go ahead and build this because it's going to expedite our winemaking efforts for sure. So with wine on the mind, the next step, of course, to use with the wine is going to be the food buffs. And we're talking things like Explorer Risotto and Battle Burritos. Well, in order to get Battle Burritos, we're going to need to get some Pinky Flesh. And to be able to get Pinky Flesh without already being in the end, meant we're going to have to go to the Nether. So if I was going to go to the Nether, I was going to see about making the entrance area just a little bit safer, encasing most of it in obsidian. And then I wanted to test out as well, how can we get out of the Nether quickly should the portal get exploded and I don't have stuff to make one on the other side. Now this thought process might not be the smartest thing in the world, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not even 100% convinced that I really need the effects of the Battle Burrito. It'd just be kind of nice to have, to be perfectly honest. But I figured this job needed doing, and we were going to get this all tidied up. Then something really odd happened. That Wraith came along and triggered the dodge ability that we have leveled up in our agility tree and caused me to jump backwards through the portal down the cliff, which thankfully did not end inside of lava. I actually needed to kind of pause the game a little bit here. You see me on the escape menu, just trying to get my bearings and make sure, okay, how much trouble are we actually in now that I got jumped and surrounded? And it wasn't bad. We didn't really take much damage. I was able to eat the golden apple to keep up the absorption. And because we had already tested that the warp scrolls worked to get us out of there, it was nothing. To be able to leave, get out to safety, definitely worth keeping those around in our inventory at all times when we're over there. The magic mirror and recall potions do not work from the nether, by the way. Now, all that was left to do was to turn off the nether portal, which wasn't working. And it allowed this guy to come through, who then decided to jack up our base. It's little things like that that make me question my decision-making process, because now we have a hole that goes through a couple floors. But thankfully, that's all that he destroyed. It was all cosmetic. Really didn't take anything to fix it up. Took way longer than I needed to figure out how to make the doors work the right way, but we got it. What we also got was a nice hefty amount of pinky flesh from that encounter. And another quest checked off the list. Pinky's pinky. That's gross. Alright. And it was the last meat that we needed for making the burrito. Everybody loves burritos. I don't know why I did this one at a time. I really don't. It's painful to watch. Every meat burrito. Quest complete. Just making progress. But that's where we are, guys. I appreciate you coming along on the journey. This edit, not too bad. We knocked some things off the list, but we're going to get down to business on the live. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Well, I mean, seeing you guys virtually, right? Because we don't really see it. It's not like, you guys know what I mean. We'll see you guys again next time.